Happy New Year.
This is the day before New Year's Eve.
And today's video is sponsored by GSI. So let's talk about future grain bin expansion plans at Brown Farms. Yep, this would be a good spot.
That'd be a good spot for a brand new 48 by 17 GSI grain bin holding roughly 100,000 bushels. But I don't think that's quite in the cards today, so let's get more realistic for what we would be expanding in the short term. We would have to pick up some more acres to need that grain bin. I would love to put one there, but not quite where we're at. So one thing we have been considering doing over here at this grain facility. This is our newer grain site. We call it the new grain bins. These three were put here in 2016. That big bin and the leg were put in here in 2019. We've been considering putting in an overhead storage tank. This would be a coned bottom. We were thinking a 33 or a 5,000 bushel bin. So problem is trying to figure out where we want to do it at. We have this structure overhead here. So what we'd kind of been talking about was putting a superstructure up right here off to the side, having a pipe coming out of the top of the leg. It's not real cold today, but it's quite windy. We're actually under a wind advisory. Oh good, the door's open. Don't see any raccoons. Look up ahead. Overhead. So looking at our little chart here, since it's windy outside, we would basically have, and here's our leg, our overhead tank would be right here. Now a 5,000 bushel overhead tank is not adding a lot of storage to this place. In fact, we wouldn't leave it very loaded for anything long term. But versatility, it would give us a little bit more blending capabilities. We would also be able to, there's multiple times during the year in wheat harvest, bean harvest, any harvest, where we just need to get a semi-empty because Cargill's empty or Cargill's closed or something along those lines. So it would be useful. Problem is it useful enough to justify the cost? I don't know. We got an estimate a while back. It would not be a cheap project. It's actually the most expensive way to get storage because it's just cone bottom bins are not cheap. So back to this idea of putting a bin there though. That would be right here, be the same diameter as that bin. These are 48 foot, or this bin's a 48 foot diameter, 42s, and a 36. All these bins are GSI bins along with a GSI dryer. But the reason we have not put more grain storage here, we have limited footprints. I mean, we could go that way quite a ways, but I'd like to keep the bins kind of close together, easy to hit without overhead drags and that kind of stuff. I don't want to put just like right now we could use about 30 to 40,000 bushels more storage, but I don't want to put a 30,000 bushel bin here because I just ate up that footprint, be the same diameter as that one. Whenever that is kind of reserved for a 48 or a 60 foot diameter bin. Now we have room out here, but like I said, I want to keep everything kind of tight. And that's really one of the main reasons we haven't built any more grain bins. We just haven't picked up any more ground. This year, even this year in drought, we were still a little short on storage. And I mean a little, like a couple thousand bushel. But in a good year, we're usually quite short. I mean, usually we didn't core bins this year till well after harvest. Normally we would do that in harvest to make space. So we could definitely use some storage. It's not the right time. Now a grain bin like this 48 foot, this is a 48 foot diameter, 14 ring tall GSI. A bin that size, that's 84,000 depending on how it peaks. That's going to be $3 a bushel roughly. So you're not talking about a cheap undertaking there. And close to 300,000 by the time you get the concrete, electric, and everything in the ground and done. So that thing needs to make us some money. Now, there's been years where grain bins have paid for the whole bin in a year. That bin right there, I bought that grain bin before Dad, BJ, and I farmed together. Like, me and Kayla purchased that bin. And it paid for itself in a year. It just so happened that I purchased it in a year that the market took a huge upswing. So that's not common, and bins were cheaper then. I think I built that bin for like $1.75 a bushel. So that's a 42,000 bushel bin. I didn't have 150 in it. I had roughly 80,000 in that bin, I think. That was fill dirt, electric, everything. So usually you're going to see a much better price in the spring versus in the fall. So that's one of the reasons why you have bins. That and the conditioning of the grain. But let's say we're hauling grain out of the field this year. Let's say we were at $4. Disregard my terrible handwriting. Benefits of being left-handed. You can blame it on that. Well, ideally, now the markets are taking a downturn right now. Seems like ag economy is trending downwards, but ideally we would be able to at least get $4.75 this spring. Right now I think we can get $4.50. Hopefully there'll be a few more cents as some conditions, like I'm sure at some point it's going to turn into a weather market. That would be a good goal for us right now, $4.75. So that's 75 cents times 84,000, or let's just do that 100,000 bushel bin we were hypothetically talking about. So you're at 100,000. That's $75,000. And that's just market carry. Now, don't get me wrong, it is not free to store grain. I mean, there's costs. Right now we have a fan running on this big bin. I mean, electric bills, they go up when you have them fans running. So there is some storage costs. So let's take out, let's say we hold this 100,000 bushel till, let's say we hold it till March. So we'll deduct $5,000 of storage cost. I mean, then we're still at 70 grand. So it cost us $3 to build it. We just made $3 a bushel to build it, 300,000. So that first year in this hypothetical situation, we recouped 75 grand. That puts us at 225. So you can see pretty quickly those bins are going to pay for themselves even in that situation. Within 5 years, your money ahead. So grain bins are one of the best investments I've ever made on the farm as far as seeing an immediate return. I've yet to build one and regret it, and I hope to be able to build more. That's kind of my goal. I'd like to put 100,000 there, and if someday the farm's ever fortunate enough to grow more than that, I would probably put, like I said, this is a 48, I'd probably put a 60-foot diameter out here and make it a 120 or a 150. That's way down the road. Like I say, those are long-term bin update plans. And we would have to pick up 1,000 more acres of corn than we have now. So it's quite a ways off, but that's how I would love to see this place look at some point. Now, things that we would do differently at this site now that we've been here. I mean, the site hasn't changed in 5 years, so we've been here a while. There's not a lot of stuff I'd do different. We had a lot of experience thinking about how we would change things with our old site. If you haven't seen that, we'll be there in this video. But things that I would maybe do different. Everything's kind of spaced out. That was on purpose. It's not needed. So there's 6 foot in between those bins. That's not needed. Could have maybe got those a little tighter. One huge regret. Well, actually there's 2, and they're all to do with overhead ladders. So there was originally supposed to be a platform going from that observation deck over to the leg. That would be handy. I think about that every time I climb the leg. I don't climb the leg all that often, so it's not a huge deal though. But on this storage bin here, this is our wet holding bin, this smaller bin.
So it is constantly being filled and emptied, and the grain levels on it are checked often. Now we do have bin indicators on the side of this holding bin, or this wet bin, but they're only so accurate. So you're still going up and down them a lot. And plus the grain indicators are, they're 3/4 of the way up. We did not put a ladder or a set of stairs to that bin. We bridged over to it, and that's a pain in the butt because I'm usually going up trying to hit the side of that bin. Or it'd be nice to be able to go up and try to hit the side of that bin to find out where our grain level is. That's one regret I have when we built this place. The other possible regret, and this was all on purpose though, so it's not really a regret, I don't know. We did not put in a pit, we put in drags. We have a 7,500 bushel leg and drags to pull it away from it. Now our thought was, if everything kept expanding and we ever got big enough to need a leg or a pit, we'd put in a 1,000 bushel pit, and then this leg would still be sized well, and that's still the plan. If money was no object, that pit would have been nice, but it didn't fit into our budget at the time. We've got along great with this. We can still dump a truck in 9 minutes, so it's not the end of the world. But someday a pit would be pretty cool. We'd have to tear out that barn. I mean, we'd have to redo all that, so it is not something that's in the immediate plans. But if we got to the point where we were building that 60-foot diameter bin over there, because we picked up another 1,000 acres of corn, well, we'd probably be putting it in the plans. Definitely just forgot the Ranger. But now we'll head over to the other farm and we'll talk about future updates over there at that place. So now we're at the old grain bins. We'll walk you through some of the future plans we have here. So as some of you are probably aware from following the channel for a while, we did have some pretty grand plans of things we were going to do here, and those all got postponed this year, except for we did turn the leg pipes, put new cushion boxes up top. That all happened. That's good. That was wonderful. That needed to happen. We have a lot of other things we want to do. This drive-through, it all needs redone. Floors are settling really bad. A lot of undermining from rodents. The drive-through itself is actually not big enough. It's pretty narrow. We can still get in here, but it could be better. We still haven't hooked up the dryer because the electrical system here isn't big enough, so the electrical needs updated. And this unload auger, where the doghouse is, where all those augers dump in, that all needs redone. So that's all things that would have to happen here at some point, but I don't know when they're going to happen. The way the markets are, we might just limp along as long as possible the way it is. I don't know. Probably have to start with the electric first, then everything else can be upgraded at a later time. But the electric would be the big thing, and that's probably going to be the most expensive part of the upgrade. Now, I get asked a lot, why don't we just abandon this place, put up a new bin, and be done with it? I would love to do that, but as some of you know, we don't own this place outright. We own a percentage of it with a partner, and that's why it is the way it is. I would prefer to put like 2 bins over here, like a 100,000 bushel bin, a 20,000 bushel bin, and that be it. But that's just kind of what we got to do for now. The bins themselves aren't bad. I would like to put floors in a few of them. Most of these bins over here have concrete floors. That would be a pretty usable upgrade. The place still functions pretty well as a bean facility. That's what we use it for now. There's no corn here. And in that aspect, we can get along pretty good here. So that's the plans for now. That's what we're going to keep doing. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. But our GSI dealer, they are the ones that are helping us with all these upgrades. That's who came out and turned the leg pipes, put new cushion boxes on, all that good stuff. They serviced our leg, and then they'll help us with our blower system and all that stuff. Now, one other thing we do want to do at the new facility that I completely forgot to mention is a dust system. We are working with that same GSI dealer hand in hand on trying to figure something out there. If you've seen the videos, a lot of time it's really dusty when we load out in the drive-through. It's kind of one of the disadvantages about loading out in a building.
It is nice, but it's dusty. So that's kind of the grain bin plans for this year, folks. I wish we were building a bin. Like I said, I'd like to build a bin, but we're just not there right now. But thanks for watching. Hope everyone had a happy new year, and we'll see you in the next video.